Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, October 13th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by Dan Rubin. Just like we predicted entering the year, Dan, we made a lot of predictions. Just like we predicted, we said James Franklin won't even make it to Columbus. We didn't predict that. I don't think we predicted that.
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't predict this 2 weeks ago. I'll say this, and this has been obviously in the media landscape we live in now, commentary on an event of this magnitude has already been out there. So this is probably not going to be the freshest comment ever, but I can't remember in my years of following sports, and I don't really do anything else, something crumbling so quickly. I mean, I remember the interview before the whiteout, which was like 2 weeks ago. He's like, this will be the greatest scene in the history of college football. And then they had a lead, I think, in one of the overtimes.
Yeah.
And then literally, since the second they lost that game, it's like it just turned into a complete nosedive. Now, I'll say this. Anything that crumbles that quickly had a rickety foundation. So, I mean, if Ohio State lost 2 games in a row, we wouldn't I don't care who they were to, it wouldn't be like, you know what? We need to move the team to Akron. I mean, it's like, it's wild. So I have no real context for it. I'll hit it like this. How does this affect the Buckeyes? Well, that was one of the games on the schedule you thought, would be at least a challenge. And now they're going to be emotionally drained. I think it's the nicest thing I could say. And, big ups to the quarterback, Ethan Grunkemeyer, now Olentangy native. But I can't remember something of this magnitude, especially when, and I said this to you, Dave, before the season. I said, this is one of the things we should write a column. And I don't get why everyone's so psyched on Penn State. They lost their best players. People just wanted the narrative to be like Michigan and Ohio State, and everyone came back and said they didn't actually go into the details. Like Ohio State brought back their best players and added Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. You know what I mean? They did not bring back Tyler Warren or Abdul Carter, and they kind of tried to pigeonhole these other guys into those spots, and they just aren't as good. So I think the media deserves some blame for this in terms of the magnitude, but that is a dumpster fire of epic proportions.
It's crazy. Now we'll see who they get. Let's talk about Matt Rule. It's like, okay, well, we'll see. They'll get there. They'll pay a lot of money for it. Right now, James Franklin's getting $46 million to not coach. So only Jimbo Fisher says, that's not that much. Jimbo got about $75 million not to coach. All right, let's get into it. So we're halfway through the regular season for the Buckeyes, which is crazy. Hopefully, still have about at least 9 more games to go total, maybe 10. We'll see how it works out. But if they get that bye, I guess if you have to go to the Big Ten championship game and even get the bye, if I have my math right, then it would still be 16 games, right? Whatever. It's hard to keep up these days.
A lot.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't feel like there's not just 6 games left. But let's look at where the Buckeyes are at midway through the regular season. I would say I am thrilled with where they're at. People are here's the thing. Everybody's so spoiled. There was a lot. You were part of the post-game podcast. I mean, most people in the chat were shouting down anybody who's being negative, but there was a lot of negativity in the chat. Like after the game, I'm like, listen, they were favored by 14.5. They win by 18, and that was with taking their foot off the gas. And they've been so damn impressive the entire year. There have been times like against Texas, for example, where they could have, in my opinion, gone for the jugular, but they knew the defense was just suffocating the opponent. So I'm thrilled with where they're at, man. And they just feel like they're in a tier by themselves. And then there's like 5 or 6 teams that are like right below them that are fighting for that number 2 spot. Indiana, Miami. I'm not writing off Oregon. Alabama's in that tier. Georgia's in that tier, but Ohio State's in a tier by themselves. I love it.
I agree. I think if you're complaining now, without like major disclaimers, it's a you problem. I talked to somebody about this the other day and then checked back with them. I think this is, you can make an argument, the zenith of the program ever right today. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but look around. They're the defending national champions. Let's remember that. I know that it does seem like there's an issue for some to totally give last season credit, and we all know why. I can't argue with that on some level. It's the one thing I cannot explain. It's almost like it happened. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. I'm not even going to talk about it. But what more would you need to see? I'm not quite sure. I mean, the other team has decent players on it, some pros. They're going to make a few plays. I mean, when was the last time you really thought in a game Ohio State might lose? For real. You got to go back to last year.
Right. Yeah, there was
literally the feeling in your stomach where you're like, we might lose this game. That has not happened once this year, not one time. And I said this on the post-game show. It got to 2010. They were like, really? Boom, 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 touchdown, boom, boom, sack. We'll take the ball back. Come on, dude. You at some point in time, and I realize probably not good for our bottom line for people to do this, but we've got to – what would you need to see? I mean, we're complaining about the punter.
That was in the next question. We do have a question about this is where, but I was going to put a positive spin on this. Life is good when maybe your biggest gripe is about the punter. And I agree. They need to be, because they themselves say we want to be BIA and everything. Now the defensive backs started BIA. They are once again. By the way, shout out to Devin Sanchez, and I know Mrs. Sanchez is in the chat getting his first career start for the Buckeyes. Played well. I thought the penalty was ticky-tack, but regardless, I mean, true freshman out there. Kudos to Devin Sanchez, the first of many starts. So life is good when your biggest gripe is punter. I would say also they need to have a better running game than 2.9 yards per carry, but Illinois does have a big, physical, talented front seven. They really do.
We can nitpick here. If you want to start doing the nitpicking, I can pick some nits.
I just think it's good that our biggest complaint is we have, the punter's shaky. Life is good.
Yeah, I mean, we're the defending national champions. We're ranked number 1.
Still basking.
What more? Is there a ranking or a championship I'm unaware of that we need to? It's hard to even comprehend. Not to mention, keep this in mind. You're going to start to get a ton of comparisons between this year's team and last year's team. Also, for a couple reasons. One, because they're both great. Two, because we play Wisconsin and there's a bye week, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's correct.
You're not going to really be talking a lot about competition on the field. So people are going to have to come up with ideas to talk about. And that's an interesting conversation, but it's not. The conversation really should be how Ohio State compares this year to the field this year. I think the field last year was better, if you ask my opinion. The 2, 3, 4 teams that I looked at were better teams. So whether we're better or not, you can just argue that point. But I do think Ohio, and we won the national championship last year. I think we're better this year relative to the second best team, if that makes any sense. So I would say that's a good thing.
Yeah, Oregon to me last year was better than they are this year. I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, I think I like Dante Moore, but Dylan Gabriel last year is better than Dante Moore right now. Well, Dante Moore if he was a 7th-year senior, whatever Dylan Gabriel was, would he be as good as Dylan Gabriel? Perhaps, but just comparing Oregon last year to Oregon this year, I'm taking last year's Oregon team.
Sure. Georgia.
Ohio State beat the crap out of them in the Rose Bowl. How about Indiana? How about Cignetti? I'll never
legit.
2 things at Big Ten Media Day that I'll never forget, 2024. And you guys all know this, but it's like I was there, and 2 things that were just like showstoppers. First of all, I felt bad for Deshaun Foster. People were kind of laughing when he was like, you could tell he was nervous. When somebody's nervous public speaking, my heart goes out to them. I was like, oh, you can tell right away he was nervous. I'm like, and then it started to look like maybe he'd get through it okay. But then he went, yeah, let me tell you a little something about our program. We're UCLA. We're located in LA. And I was like, oh my gosh, this poor guy. He just said UCLA is located in LA. So there was that. And then there was Curt Cignetti getting up there and saying, I win everywhere I go. Google it. I'm telling you, man, there was at least a dozen reporters around me laughing, making fun of him, saying, who does this guy think he is? Does he not know he's at Indiana?
He did.
I bet those guys aren't making fun of Cignetti any longer.
So one of the things with Cignetti, I think that has added to this folklore in the year 2 is year 1. I think it was kind of assumed that he brought over so many transfers from JMU that it would be kind of a 1-year flash thing. Clearly not. I'll say this. I watch a lot of the games with the sound down when I'm doing other stuff. Indiana's defense gets after it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, you want to talk about people who hit you when you're down, or like, when you're going down, they get a couple. Their defense plays harder than as much as any other unit I've seen. They get after it. Now, the one thing I think we've just forgotten about when people are talking about these teams is you need pros. Tell me where the pros are. You know why Penn State's not as good as everyone thinks? Tell me the pros. Who are the first-round draft picks?
Right. Tyler
When you start to want to win national championships, you need first-round draft picks. Michigan was good a few years ago. They had multiple first-round draft picks. Guess who has the most first-round draft picks on their team now? It sounds like Ohio State, because it is. And and people have a hard time believing that because we lost 14, hence Zenith. We're that team. We've been able to reload. We considered doing like a real or hyperbole aspect of the show and just saying the most crazy hot takes. It's not really a good show because the hot takes are mostly true. I mean, I heard things over the weekend, like if you go watch PFF, whether you agree with them or not, watch their review of the game. You will literally need to have a drink afterwards or a smoke, whatever you do after those events. Among the comments, Julian Sand is the best quarterback in football right now, in college football. Arvell Reese, they had to like take a timeout to talk about him. You know what I'm saying? but let's go through this, dude. Caden McDonald. I know this sounds crazy. Could he be a first-round pick?
How about that fumble?
Jermaine Matthews.
Big bag take little bag. Big bag take little bank, I should say. He just like took that's my ball. That's my bike, punk.
Jermaine Matthews.
Oh, Jermaine Matthews is another
one. Can he blitz? Is he good at blitzing? Is he versatile? Arvell Reese rushing the passer. He doesn't. The people in front of him are like pylons. It was awesome. Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate. Okay, and keep this in mind. Your draft value spikes when you play in the playoff. We've proved that already. So if our guys keep playing well, I mean, the number is off the chart. They could have 6 first-round draft picks. Dave, I said this 3 weeks ago. And this is partially because I root for an NFL team that has literally the worst defense I've ever seen. And for those of you who say Ohio State's defense isn't better, I honestly think there's an argument. Honestly. And if you don't believe me, go buy the NFL ticket and watch the game yesterday. It looked like a bad friggin' high school game, okay? And 3 weeks ago, I was sitting with my kid. Who is the one player from college football that we think would help the team the most? And the answer was Arvell Reese. And then I said to he's going to get picked before Caleb Downs in the draft. Everyone had a good laugh. When you can rush the passer, play middle linebacker, drop into coverage, all that stuff, the idea you can do all that and rush the passer, you get picked in the top 10. I watched one of those. He's ranked 5th on someone's board now, which pisses me off because now guess who's not getting him? I almost want to tank the season. I'm sorry.
Bengals are doing a good job of doing that.
You might get him. You'll have a shot at him. I'm telling you, you want to fix the Dallas Cowboys? Somehow get us Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese. And everyone who says Arvell Reese, you hope he can come back and back the Brinks truck. There is no truck big enough.
No.
You would need a fleet of trucks. And it wouldn't even be, it's not even a good suggestion for him. And secondly, when people say Parsons is Reese, he's going to get drafted because of that. Let me tell you where he was. Micah Parsons was drafted 12th. He never rushed the passer at Penn State. He only rushed the passer because DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt one game. They put him in there like, holy cow, this is a revelation. that change that they did with Parsons made Reese X million dollars. Just like I said in the thread the other day that Emeka Egbuka and now is playing so good that he makes making Carnell Tate money. That's true. So also, again, how about Jackson Smith and Jigba? Can't go deep, or he can.
Two of my friends had this really cool parlay. It was just Ohio State wide receivers yesterday to go over their receiving yards, and they were on pace to hit it. And then Marvin got knocked out of the game, and his over-under was pretty low, like relative. He already had like 32 yards early. He easily would have got it. And then Emeka pulled a hamstring. They're saying he's going to be okay. So I felt bad for my guys. Because that was looking like easy money there for a second. That's sports gambling for you, though, kids. We're not going to get into gambling, but I'm just saying, like, it's never, ever, ever free money.
Dave,
even if you think it might be. Yeah.
Did you happen to see the post game? They had Jackson was mic'd up after the game, and he goes up and
did not see it. No.
He and Baker Mayfield come together, and Baker Mayfield says, "But you're a stud. What do they have in the water at Ohio State?" And he's been there before, apparently, Baker.
He has, yeah. You saw Noah Brown had his career game at Oklahoma, and then Baker came back and returned the favor the next year. Nice little home-and-home series there with Ohio State and Oklahoma. All right, how about Michigan? Our friends went out to the Coliseum and got smacked around 31-13. Woo, boy. USC was favored, barely. They were like a 2-point favorite. Man, this is a one-dimensional Michigan team. I do think Underwood's going to be a good quarterback eventually. Right now, he's completely one-dimensional. Looks like he does not read defense as well. He's not accurate. And now Justice Haynes got banged up. Justice Haynes is fantastic. This Michigan team, they don't tackle well.
Where are the pros? Tell me.
Exactly.
Where are the pros? There's no Mason Graham. There's no Chris Jenkins' son. There's no
Kenneth Grant.
There's no Will Johnson. I know he's not. He was hurt against us. You have to have pros. You have to have studs. This is how it works, especially when you start paying for players. That's another reason these plugs are getting pulled so quickly. It was one thing to be bad and just bad. Now it's bad and you cost these people $20 million. They are not psyched. They're going to run you. So I was not impressed with Michigan at all. I will say this. Anyone who watched that game, when that quarterback from USC threw that one interception, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, they're going to end up – Michigan's going to come back in this game because that guy literally had a brain – that might be the worst interception I've ever seen when I've been watching a game. You can't throw a word – it makes me think you have money on the game. You know what I'm saying? It's like a point shaving investigation.
Worse than Stanley Jackson at Michigan in 1997 when he was just like, he kind of pump faked, and then he just like, oh, I'll just throw it right at you anyway.
Okay, since
sorry, I shouldn't bring up anything involving anything during the Cooper era in Ohio State Michigan games or anything involving Stanley Jackson when Joe Germain standing over the sidelines like, put me in, coach. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, I'll get over it one day, Dan. I will. I'll get over it.
I mean, that was terrible.
I probably won't get over it. I probably won't.
Yeah,
I'll get a press conference, and Cooper will come a lot of times to the Tuesday press conferences. Nice guy, everything, but I'll kind of look over sometimes. It's still kind of can't believe 10-1 against Michigan. What the hell, man? Like saying it to myself, of course. I would never like disrespect him, but like at least not to his face, right? I'm just gonna talk behind his back on a podcast, but. And then I take umbrage with people that are like, oh, he was great except for against Michigan. Well, he had a terrible record against Illinois. He lost 5 straight games to Illinois.
Hey.
6 of 7 to Illinois, including the 5 straight. People are, oh, he's just bad against Michigan. Well, he was 3-8 in bowl games. I don't think he played Michigan in any of those bowl games. He was 3-8, including a loss to Air Force. Okay, we're not talking about John Cooper anymore. All right, let's talk about the punter. No. I want to give Tywone Malone Jr. his props. You know, I've been critical of him because I was just like, this guy he's got the ability to do it, man. He's big. He's athletic. He's now a 5th-year senior. I tell you what, kudos to that young man, especially with Edric missing the game. Malone got his 4th consecutive start, but this time he wasn't being rotated out every series. He played really, really well. Like 4 tackles, all solo. Those sometimes can be like a misleading stat, not for a D tackle when he's making solo tackles, just blowing plays up. And there are other times that he didn't even get, credited for a tackle or a sack, but he was a big part of why the play got blown up. Kudos to number 95. When you have number 98, Caden McDonald, playing at a first-team All-American level, you got number 92, Caden Curry, playing at a first-team All-American level, now has 6 sacks on the season, Curry does. You can't have a weak link up front, and you're going to have a tremendous defensive line. They don't have a weak link up front. Kudos to Tywone Malone.
Yeah, he didn't get credit for the one time he smashed the running back when he was already getting tackled because he was running and he was just, playing that relentless 9 hats to the ball kind of approach. I'll tell you what it kind of reminds me of. And it's just another kudo for Ohio State. We talk development. I think when we say development, we think youthful. They've developed listen, Cody Simon was not a great player here for 3 or 4 years. And then he came back 1 year and it was like, what the blank has happened? I actually think it was the play he made at Notre Dame to slow down Hartman. Ever since that play, he was like a really good player. Same with Tywone Malone. Excuse me, a guy I kind of like had stopped considering as a real major contributor. Like Cody Simon, I don't think anyone thought when Eichenberg left, they're like, oh, we'll just pop Cody in there and be just as good or better. And when Edric went out, I mean, how many articles did we write about fear of Eldrick, not Tiger Woods, Edric's ankle? And Malone's been great. So kudos to the development and kudos to him for not bagging his career and being one of those veterans who gets trapped on the depth chart behind younger players and doesn't come through. I think I've seen enough from Tywone Malone to know that I'm not saying he's going to be a super high draft pick, but he's going to be playing football for a while. Worst things could happen to you. Yeah,
and playing football on Sundays in the fall, not necessarily for the Columbus Aviators, the new UFL team.
Nah, good name.
Yeah. Hey, I
like the name.
I'm like one of the few. I'm excited about it. If you guys will come to my tailgate before Columbus Aviators games at historic Crew Stadium this spring. Find me some Buckeyes. They've already said they're going to find Buckeyes. Like they're like flat out. Like we're not going to shy away from it. We're going to have a lot of Buckeyes on it.
Shy away from it.
That's smart. That's smart.
I would need a reason to get. I wouldn't even look at anybody else.
They didn't say shy away. They didn't say shy away from it. Well, no, I always tell the story. So in 2020. For the XFL, right before it got shut down because of COVID, they had about 5 games that season. Cardale Jones was the starting quarterback of the DC Defenders. Anybody can look this up. I've talked about this on the show maybe once before.
I had a t-shirt.
The TV ratings in Columbus, Ohio for DC Defender games were higher than in DC.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Well, it was higher than anywhere else in the
transient sports town, but yeah.
It was higher than anybody, and only for DC Defenders home games, because they actually did have a lot of people going to the MLS stadium, the DC United Stadium. So they actually had like a pretty good like home crowd that year. But TV ratings in Columbus were higher than anywhere else in the country for DC Defenders games. People are like, except for DC? No, including DC. So I always said, listen, if you're going to do one of these spring football leagues, do it in Columbus, load it up with Buckeyes, former Buckeyes. Hopefully Will Howard plays many, many years in the NFL. You're telling me in 2027, if something happens, like, he maybe, gets cut by the Steelers after a couple of years. If he was the quarterback of the Columbus Aviators, people wouldn't be interested.
Player coach.
How about that?
Player coach. It'd be like Slapshot the movie, but with starring Will Howard.
Let's get to this. I do want to get to this, and then I'm going to, we got a few more minutes. I do have a doctor's appointment later. We're good. All right. We did talk about the punter a little bit. Yeah, they need to be better. I don't know what else we can say about that. McLarty has a big leg, but he must be still being very inconsistent because McGuire is like 30 yards every time. Like, it's like, okay. All right. Keith Carter on Facebook. Talk about the running game. We glossed over it. Yeah, 2.9 yards per carry. That was disappointing. Now, does Illinois have a good front seven? They do. They're big. And I think they were, which was weird, that you would have this game plan. I think it was almost like they were like, loading up against the run at times, which is like, okay, you're going to let Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith go off. But they didn't really go off because they didn't have to, because Illinois had 3 turnovers and Ohio State had none. All right. So, yeah, they've got to be better. 2.9 yards per carry is not going to get it done. I'm a little concerned about Bo Jackson. Dan, you and I talked about this on the postgame show, because for running back, for anybody, if you have a sprained ankle, it can linger. If you're just like walking around your house, for a running back, those tend to you can feel like you're fine and bam, you can get re-injured. So I'm a little concerned about that ankle lingering for Bo. Yeah, the running game needs to be better. Your thoughts?
We've talked about this for a while. no one disputes that Bo is the best running back on the team, but this is why I didn't want to load him up with carries. These games, we're going to win these games with him or without him. I'm not trying to be jinxing guy, but Wisconsin has a terrible, terrible, terrible football team. Like, they're terrible. And I hate to say that for Luke Fickell. I love Luke Fickell. His team is god-awful. I'm pretty sure it was 37-0. I don't know what the over-under on that game was. But if you lose to Iowa and they come close to hitting the over-under by themselves, when people have made a living betting the under, things are bad. So let's just
he might be next, man. He might be next. And I hate, you know what the thing that might save Luke, though, in all seriousness, and I can't believe they did this. I know why. It's because of recruiting. After the first 2 years, he was pretty bad, right? Wasn't this bad. They gave him a contract extension after last year. And I was like, what? Like, what? And I know they didn't want recruits to be like, well, he's on the way out, so we're giving him a contract extension. Now, we just found out with James Franklin, buyouts will happen if they want to get rid of you. And I don't know exactly what Luke's buyout is. It's definitely not $45 million. I believe it's like $20 million, something like that. That might give him another year. But have you seen their schedule? I don't know if they're going to win another game. Their schedule is they might have the toughest schedule in the Big Ten.
They're not good.
They're not good. They're not
they could get shut out a few more times. Anyway, so given the fact that they play Wisconsin this weekend and then have a bye, and Randy Baker's beat me to the punch here, when I look at the team talent-wise, I don't think the running backs behind Bo Jackson have shown this season, at least, that they're good enough. They're close. Could we do it with them? Sure. I would like to take the chance of putting Isaiah West in there. I even thought of Go West, King of Wishful Thinking. Maybe this is just a joke. Google it, kids.
I remember the song well.
Oh, yeah. If you want to see something funny, Google Go West, Paul Rudd. You will laugh. Have you seen this?
Paul Rudd doing it?
You haven't seen that?
I don't think so. I might
have you Paul Rudd and another comedian remade the video?
Yeah.
They also did one where they remade at the beginning the Simon and Simon and Jack. It is so funny, dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I promise you guys, it's going to be more entertaining than this weekend's game. So you can have that on a loop next to you. But Isaiah West, here's a couple reasons I would do this. He's just a more like Peoples, a quick little guy, and Donaldson, for a big guy, he's very concerned about fumbling. And if you hit him in his ankles, the trap door comes down and he just goes down. He's a tough guy, and I'm sure that could be addressed. But Isaiah West, like Bo, has more of versatility, a little more size, speed combination. Not to mention, I don't think they're going to go heavy on running back in the next class. Favor Aki is in the mix, though he's injured, and I know they're going after the Latimer kid who's committed to Wisconsin. But the running back I think they want most, so I know this, is David Gabriel Georges, who's a 27 kid. And we're talking salary cap life now, right, Dave? We're trying to adjust the salary cap life. Bo Jackson, I don't care what anyone tells me, is better than they thought. So that next year, when you have a great running back, why are we going to pay another great running back to come in and sit guaranteed? There is no one you're bringing in next year who's going to unseat Bo Jackson. Okay.
It's Ravion Quinn. I know that I still can't believe it happened.
That doesn't make any sense.
But because it did happen, people are going to wonder what happened with Travion. Then we brought in Quinshon. Why can't we have Bo and bring in someone from the portal?
I'll say this. That was year 4 for Travion, and I don't know if he did have a promising freshman year, but in terms of being an every down back, I would think Bo Jackson would be a little more appealing. Like, also, he's going into his sophomore year, not his senior year. Travion had a bunch of injuries. Don't forget, Travion's best year was probably his freshman year before his senior year.
Oh, for sure.
He was battling nagging injuries, and he couldn't cut, it felt like, for 2 years. And also, There's an exception to every rule.
Right.
And the Judkins transfer, Dave, you know this. I started talking about Quinshon Judkins going into his sophomore year for the Cowboys.
Right.
And then he transferred to the Buckeyes. I literally thought I was getting pranked. Yeah, that's not going to happen again. And by the way, you see now when you see him in the pros, Quinshon is not if he's not the ideal professional running back, he's very close.
So good. I know his stats weren't good yesterday, but
he's very, very good.
Steelers defense was just loading up on against him. He's he's one of those guys who'll have like a 3-yard run. You're like, God, that was a great 3-yard run right there.
Should have been a -1.
It should have been a loss of 2 yards, and he turns it into 3 yards. Like Quinshon that was a great pick by the Browns. The Browns had a really good draft.
Yeah.
The Browns have by far the most rookie snaps of anybody in the NFL. And
that's the way to do it.
Gabriel, everybody's going to struggle against that Steeler defense pretty much. Gabriel, I don't know if I still am not sold, but like he's better than what I expected he would.
Yeah, but he's not the long-term answer.
I don't think so.
No, Dave.
He's listed I don't think so. Yeah, I agree with you.
No,
because he's listed at 5'11", and I would bet you in my life he's not 5'11". Did you see when Carson Wentz is a tall guy? Carson Wentz, after their game, they took their helmets off the previous week, and they're standing next to each other talking. Carson Wentz looked like he was Yao Ming, standing next to Dylan Gabriel.
He's a big dude too.
I'm telling you. All right, I gotta close the show up now because I have a doctor's appointment here in less than an hour. Just a checkup, no big deal. You guys aren't gonna get rid of me that easily, at least not yet. Thank you, Dan Rubin. I appreciate your insight, sir. All right, Dan.
Happy to be here. It was great. Let's see Isaiah West in the mix.
There you go. And Dan will be with you tomorrow. You're going to be with Pooh
Not
Bah?
sure yet. Definitely the Pooh Bah. We're still working out the final days of the Dean, but
cool.
We'll get it done.
Awesome. Great stuff from Dan. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks, and I hope you're still basking.